Hey folks, welcome to the Daily Dose. Hey, have you noticed how people today seem to be really into making statements? Black and white statements, as though my opinion is the only one that matters. Have you noticed this? Well, we're going to talk about that tonight on the Daily Dose. Hey, before we dive in, would you share this post, like it if you're on Facebook? Also, take a minute to check in. For every check-in on Facebook, get this, a member of our church is going to donate $5 to our Backpack Attack program. It's pretty great. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications. And if you're watching at home, would you think of somebody you could share what you learned tonight with? All right, I want to talk about how people today seem to be really into making statements as though my opinion is the only way things are. Well, get this. I did a little research in the New Testament. I looked at the things that Jesus said, and I did a little search, and I found, get this, that Jesus asks a whole lot of questions. Get this. Jesus asks 303 questions in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John together. That's a lot of questions. People ask Jesus 183 questions. And get this, Jesus only answers directly 3 questions, only 3 in the Bible, because he's always answering questions with other questions. Jesus seems to really be into questions, especially when it comes to the way that he communicates with those who are outcasts, those who are on the margins, those who didn't fit the mold in that ancient world. For example, in John chapter 4, Jesus finds himself with a Samaritan woman. Now, culturally, there were no two groups of people that were further apart than Jesus' people and the Samaritans. And this woman had a past. Jesus shouldn't have been hanging around with her. But when he sits down with her, he asks her a question. He says, "Can I have a cup of water?" And then later in John chapter 5, Jesus finds himself by this pool, and there's this man who's been ill. He's been disabled for 38 years, and he's by this pool that was believed to have healing properties. Jesus knew why he was there. But get this, Jesus says to him, "Do you want to get well?" He asks a question. And in Acts chapter 9, Jesus finds himself with Saul, the greatest persecutor of Christians that ever lived. And Jesus doesn't condemn him. He doesn't make a statement about him. No, Jesus looks at Saul and simply says, "Saul, why do you persecute me?" You see, in each and every one of these instances, Jesus doesn't criticize, he doesn't condemn, he doesn't accuse, he doesn't belittle, he doesn't make declarative statements. He asks questions. He asks questions and let these characters tell their story, because Jesus knows what you and I know, that when we ask questions of people, we bring them dignity. We honor who they are, and we allow them to be seen as God created them to be. You see, Jesus was into questions. And so, folks, just maybe that's a model for us as people of faith, that when we encounter people who are different from us, people who maybe have a different color of skin than you do, people with different political views, people who are just plain different than you are, they speak different languages, socially they're different, maybe rather than making statements, jumping to my opinion, maybe rather than that, Jesus invites us to ask questions. What if we were to ask more questions and make less statements? Just maybe we'd start seeing people. We'd start seeing people through the eyes of Jesus. Have a good night.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you bring hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise to your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing.